Captain Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the dig site, dust swirling around his boots as the hot alien sun beat down on his shoulders. The year was 2387, and he commanded the human research ship Horizon. 3 months ago, his crew had joined a big space mission with aliens from different worlds. They were all here to study the old Keth planet, which had been empty for over 2,000 years. Jake wiped sweat from his face and looked at his team. Dr. Lisa Parker knelt in the dirt, nearby, carefully brushing sand away from something metal. She was the best human scientist they had for studying old alien stuff. Next to her worked Vextar, a tall lizard-like creature from the Saurian world. His red scales caught the sunlight as he moved his tools with quick, precise movements. Other team members were spread across the ruins. Thekmore clicked and buzzed as he worked, his bug-like body moving on 6 legs. The hive-mind creature always made Jake feel uneasy, but he was good at his job. Bloom of Stars floated above them all, her crystal body catching light and throwing rainbows across the ground. Zeph was harder to see, being made of gas and energy, but Jake could feel the alien's presence like a warm breeze. Captain Morrison, Lisa called out, excitement clear in her voice. You need to see this right now. Jake walked over to where she knelt. The metal object she had been cleaning was much bigger than it first looked. As more dirt was removed, they could see it was part of something huge buried deep underground. What do you think it is? Jake asked. I think it's a ship, Lisa said, her eyes wide. But not like any ship we've ever seen before. Look at these markings. Jake bent down to get a closer look. Strange symbols covered the metal surface. They were not Keith writing, and they were not from any of the Coalition worlds either. The metal itself looked different too. It was dark, but seemed to glow with its own inner light. Vexitar hissed softly, which meant he was thinking hard. These symbols are older than anything in our records, he said in his rough voice. Much older than the Keth civilization. Over the next week, the team worked day and night to uncover more of the buried ship. It was massive, easily 3 times bigger than Jake's research vessel. The ship's design was unlike anything they had seen before. It had smooth, curved lines that seemed to flow like water, and the metal never got hot or cold no matter what the weather was like. We need to get inside, Lisa said on the 7th day. They had uncovered what looked like a door, but it had no handles or controls they could see. Thekmore tried first. He connected his best computer tools to the ship's hull. Nothing happened. The ship stayed dark and quiet. Bloom of Stars tried next. She focused her crystal energy on the door area, sending waves of power that could usually open any lock. The energy just bounced off the ship like light off a mirror. Vextar used Saurian plasma cutters that could cut through almost anything. The tools could not even scratch the ship's surface. Zeph wrapped around the entire door area, trying to find weak points with his gas form. He found nothing. This is impossible, Vextar growled. Nothing can resist all of our technologies. Jake had been watching quietly. Something about the ship felt familiar, though he could not explain why. It was like a memory from a dream he could not quite remember. Let me try, Jake said. The aliens looked at him with surprise. Humans were known for being tough and creative, but their technology was the newest and simplest of all the Coalition races. What can you do that we cannot? Thekmore clicked. Jake shrugged. Maybe nothing, but something about this ship feels, I don't know, different. He walked up to the door and placed his bare hand on the metal surface. The moment his skin touched the ship, everything changed. Light exploded across the ship's hull. Symbols that had been dark suddenly glowed bright blue. A deep humming sound came from inside the ship, growing louder and stronger. The ground beneath, their feet began to vibrate. The alien stepped back in shock, but Jake felt drawn to move closer. The door in front of him began to change. Lines appeared on its surface, forming patterns that seemed to move and shift. Then, with a soft hissing sound, the door slid open. Warm air flowed out from inside the ship. It smelled clean and fresh like a spring morning on Earth. Lights came on inside, showing a corridor that stretched deep into the ship's interior. How did you do that? Lisa whispered. Jake stared at his hand, then at the open door. I have no idea. The ship's lights pulsed gently, almost like it was breathing. More sections of the hull began to glow, showing that the ship was much more active now than it had been moments before. Whatever had been sleeping inside was now awake. Vextar pointed one clawed finger at the ship. The power readings are incredible. This ship has more energy than our entire fleet combined. And it only responded to Jake, Lisa added, looking at him with new curiosity. Why would an ancient alien ship respond only to a human? Jake did not have an answer. But as he looked into the glowing corridor ahead, he felt something calling to him. Something that had been waiting a very long time for him to arrive. I think we're about to find out, he said, and took his first step into the mysterious ship. Jake stepped inside the ship, and immediately the walls around him came alive. Bright pictures appeared in the air, showing symbols and words from many different languages. Some he recognized from Coalition worlds, but others looked much older than anything he had ever seen. Lisa and the other team members followed him into the corridor. Their eyes went wide as they saw the amazing displays floating around them. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing to one set of symbols. These look almost like old human writing, but that's impossible. Humans only started flying in space 300 years ago. Jake stared at the symbols. They did look familiar, like something from Earth's ancient past. But how could human writing be on a ship that was thousands of years old? As they walked deeper into the ship, more lights came on. The corridor opened into a huge room filled with glowing panels and floating displays. In the center of the room stood what looked like a command chair, clearly meant for someone to sit and control the ship. Suddenly, a soft blue light appeared in front of them. The light grew brighter and took shape, forming the image of a tall, graceful being. It looked almost human, but with longer limbs and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Welcome, the being said in perfect English. I am Keeper 7, the guardian of this vessel. I have been waiting for you for a very long time. Jake felt his heart beating fast. Waiting for me? But how do you know who I am? Keeper 7 smiled sadly. I know because you carry the blood of my creators. You are human, descendant of the ancients. The aliens behind Jake made sounds of surprise. Vexitar hissed, Thekmore clicked rapidly, and Bloom of Stars pulsed with different colors. That cannot be true, Vexitar said. Humans evolved on Earth. We have seen the records. Keeper 7 turned to face the lizard alien. The records you have seen show what happened on Earth, yes, but they do not show how humans came to be there in the first place. Jake felt dizzy. What are you saying? I am saying that your species is not originally from Earth, Keeper 7 explained. Long ago, billions of years before any of you were born, there was a great race called the Ancients. They were your true ancestors. They built ships like this one and traveled among the stars, helping life grow on many worlds. Lisa stepped forward. But if that's true, what happened to them? Where did they go? Keeper 7's expression grew dark. They faced an enemy unlike any other. Creatures of darkness and hunger called the Devourers. These beings consume everything in their path. Planets, stars, entire civilizations. They grow stronger with each world they destroy. The room grew, quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. The ancients fought bravely, Keeper 7 continued, but they knew they could not win, so they made a plan. They took some of their people and placed them on a far world away from the war. That world was Earth. Jake's legs felt weak. He sat down heavily on the floor. You're saying humans are the descendants of these ancients? Yes. You were placed on Earth to grow and learn, to become strong. The ancients programmed their ships to respond only to their genetic descendants. Only humans can operate ancient technology because only humans carry the ancient genetic code. Thekmore clicked loudly. This is why the ship would not respond to us. It was waiting for a human. Exactly, Keeper 7 said. And now that you are here, I can share what the ancients left behind. The walls around them changed, showing star maps and images of amazing technology. Jake saw weapons that could destroy huge ships, shields that could protect entire planets, and machines that could build new worlds. All of this belongs to humanity now. Keeper 7 said. But it comes with a great responsibility. The Devourers are returning. Our deep space sensors have detected their scout ships at the edge of the galaxy. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. The enemy that destroyed the ancients is coming back? Yes. And this time, humanity must be ready to fight them. You are the Guardians now, the protectors of all life in the galaxy. Jake stood up slowly, looking at the command chair in the center of the room. Why me? I'm just a ship captain. I'm not a warrior or a leader of worlds. You are what you need to be. Keeper 7 said gently. The ancients chose Earth carefully. They knew that humans would develop the courage, creativity, and determination needed to face the Devourers. You have already proven this by working peacefully with other species in the coalition. Vextar stepped forward. If humans are the descendants of the ancients, what does this mean for the rest of us? It means you are all part of the plan, Keeper 7 replied. The ancients seeded life throughout the galaxy, hoping that many species would grow strong and work together. The coalition exists because the ancients wanted it to exist. You are all allies in the coming war. Jake walked slowly toward the command chair. As he got closer, more systems came online. The ship seemed to recognize him, welcoming him home. This ship is yours now, Keeper 7 said. It is called the Eternal Dawn. There are others like it hidden throughout the galaxy, all waiting for humans to awaken them. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You must use this gift wisely. Jake placed his hand on the chair's armrest. Information flowed into his mind. Star charts, weapon systems, the history of the ancients, and most importantly, the location of the approaching Devourer fleet. The time for questions was over. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. News of the ancient ship spread across the galaxy faster than Jake had expected. Within 2 weeks, every major coalition world knew about the discovery. The reaction was not what he had hoped for. Jake stood in the communication room of his research ship, watching angry faces on screens from different worlds. Admiral Kate Stone from Earth looked worried. Chancellor Vexoth from the Saurian Empire was clearly upset. The Speaker Prime of the Hive Mind Collective buzzed with displeasure. This changes everything, Admiral Stone said, her voice tight with concern. If humans really are descendants of these ancients, other species might see us as a threat. They already do, Jake replied, looking at the other screens. Chancellor Vexoth was speaking rapidly with his advisors, his red scales darkening with anger. Captain Morrison, Chancellor Vexoth said when he noticed Jake watching. The Saurian Empire demands that this ancient ship be turned over to Coalition. Control immediately. No single species should have such powerful weapons. The Speaker Prime's voice came through as multiple clicking sounds that the translator turned into words. The hive mind agrees. Humans are too emotional and unpredictable to handle such responsibility. This technology belongs to all Coalition species. Jake felt frustrated. But the ship won't work for anyone except humans. Keeper 7 explained that the genetic locks cannot be changed. Then the ship should be destroyed, said Director Coral Song from the Aquatic Federation. Her water-filled chamber bubbled as she spoke. If only one species can use it, then no one should have it. Lisa entered the communication room just as the argument was getting worse. She had been working with Keeper 7 to understand more about the ancient technology. Jake, she said quietly, you need to see something. The deep space monitors are picking up strange signals. Jake ended the communication call, despite the protests from the other leaders. He followed Lisa to the sensor room where Keeper 7's hologram was waiting. Show him what you showed me, Lisa said. Keeper 7 waved his hand and the room filled with star maps. Red dots appeared at the edge of the galaxy, moving slowly toward the inner worlds. Devourer scout ships, Keeper 7 explained. They have found the galaxy and are testing our defenses. The main fleet will arrive within 6 months. Jake stared at the moving dots. There were dozens of them, each one representing a ship capable of destroying entire star systems. How long do we have to prepare? Jake asked. Not long enough, Keeper 7 replied. The coalition fleets are not equipped to fight Devourers. Only ancient technology can harm them. Over the next few days, the political situation got worse. Some coalition species demanded that humans share the ancient technology. Others wanted the ship destroyed completely. A few smaller worlds even talked about leaving the coalition if humans kept the ship. Jake spent hours walking through the Eternal Dawn trying to decide what to do. The ship responded to his presence, lighting up corridors as he passed and showing him more of its incredible capabilities. He learned that it could produce new technologies, create powerful weapons, and even locate other hidden ancient ships throughout the galaxy. But with each new discovery came more pressure from the coalition. Representatives from different worlds arrived at the dig site daily, all demanding answers Jake did not have. Dr. Lisa Parker found him in the ship's main control room one evening, staring at the command chair he had not yet dared to sit in. "The Coalition Council is meeting tomorrow," she said. "They're going to vote on whether to demand you turn over the ship." Jake nodded. He had expected this. "What are you going to do?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Jake admitted. "If I refuse, it could destroy the coalition. Humans might be kicked out and we'll be alone against the Devourers. And if you agree to turn it over, the ship won't work for them. Keeper 7 has been very clear about that. The genetic locks are absolute." Lisa sat down on the floor beside him. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the ancients knew this would happen. They knew that their descendants would have to make hard choices. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through his research ship, thinking about everything that had happened. In the morning, he would have to decide not just his own future, but possibly the future of the entire galaxy. He found himself back on the Eternal Dawn, standing before the command chair. Keeper 7 appeared beside him. "The choice is difficult," the AI said softly. "How did the ancients handle this?" Jake asked. "When they faced the Devourers the first time, how did they make their decisions?" "They made mistakes," Keeper 7 replied, honestly. "They waited too long to act. They tried to fight the enemy while also keeping peace among themselves. In the end, it cost them everything." Jake thought about the coalition leaders and their demands. He thought about the approaching Devourer ships. Most of all, he thought about all the innocent people on all the different worlds who had no idea what was coming. "If I sit in that chair," Jake said, "there's no going back, is there?" "No," Keeper 7 confirmed. "Once you accept command of this ship, you become responsible for defending the galaxy. It is a burden that will follow you for the rest of your life." Jake looked at the chair for a long moment. Then he thought about his home on Earth, about all the friends he had made from different species, about the children on dozens of worlds who deserved to grow up in peace. "The coalition leaders want to meet with me tomorrow," Jake said. "And what? Will you tell them?" Jake took a deep breath. The weight of the decision pressed down on him like a heavy stone, but his path was becoming clear. "I'm going to tell them the truth," he said, "that whether they like it or not, the Devourers are coming. And if they want to survive, they're going to have to trust humans to do what the ancients chose us to do." He walked toward the command chair, each step feeling more certain than the last. Tomorrow would bring arguments and difficult negotiations, but tonight he needed to accept his destiny. The fate of the galaxy depended on the choice he was about to make. Jake sat down in the command chair of the Eternal Dawn. The moment he settled into the seat, everything changed. The ship came fully alive around him, and suddenly his mind was filled with knowledge he had never learned. He could see star maps of the entire galaxy, understand weapon systems that seemed like magic, and feel the locations of dozens of other ancient ships waiting to be awakened. "Welcome, Guardian," Keeper 7 said with what looked like relief. "You have accepted your destiny." The chair felt comfortable, as if it had been made specifically for him. Jake realized that in a way, it had been. The ancients had designed everything for their descendants, knowing that one day humans would need to take their place. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we prepare for war," Keeper 7 replied. "The Devourer scouts have reached the outer worlds. We have very little time." Jake closed his eyes and reached out with his new abilities. He could sense other humans across the galaxy who carried strong ancient genetics. There were not many, but there were enough. "Lisa," he called out. She was still in the corridor outside the control room. When she entered, she gasped. Jake looked different sitting in the chair. There was a glow around him, and his eyes seemed to hold new wisdom. I can find others, Jake told her. Other humans who can pilot ancient ships. But I need your help to contact them. Over the next week, Jake and his team worked frantically. They sent messages to humans on dozens of worlds calling them to come to the old Keth planet. Many thought the messages were jokes. Others were too scared to leave their homes. But some came. Captain Ben Clark arrived from the mining colonies. Pilot Amy Torres came from the Outer Rim trading posts. Engineer Rick Davis left his job on a space station to answer the call. One by one, humans with the right genetic markers arrived at the dig site. Jake led each new arrival to the Eternal Dawn. When they touched the ship, it responded to them too, though not as strongly as it did to Jake. Keeper 7 explained that Jake had the strongest ancient bloodline, making him the natural leader. We found 7 other ancient ships on this world alone, Lisa reported. All buried, all waiting. Jake nodded. And there are more throughout the galaxy. I can feel them. As each new ship was uncovered and activated, Jake assigned a human pilot to it. The ships began producing weapons and shields at an amazing rate. Ancient technology that had been sleeping for thousands of years was now working to defend the galaxy. But they were not working alone. When news of the approaching Devourer fleet reached the Coalition worlds, the political argument stopped. Faced with extinction, the different species put aside their fears about human leadership. Chancellor Vexoth was the first to change his mind. When Devourer scouts attacked a Saurian mining world, the lizard leader saw his people's weapons bounce harmlessly off the enemy ships. Only when Jake arrived in the Eternal Dawn and destroyed the attackers did Vexoth understand the truth. Forgive my doubts, the Chancellor said over the communication link. We need your help. The Speaker Prime of the Hive Mind was next. When Devourers consumed an entire bug colony world in less than an hour, the collective mind realized that only ancient weapons could stop them. One by one, the Coalition species accepted human leadership in the war against the Devourers. They provided resources, ships, and soldiers to support the ancient fleet that Jake was building. 3 months after Jake first sat in the command chair, the main Devourer fleet arrived at the galaxy's edge. It was larger than anyone had imagined. Hundreds of massive ships that looked like giant black holes with engines. Each ship was the size of a small moon, and they moved through space consuming everything in their path. Jake led a fleet of 12 ancient ships to meet them. It was all they had been able to find and activate in time. Against hundreds of Devourer vessels, it seemed hopeless. Are you ready? Jake asked his pilots over the communication system. Ready, Guardian, came the reply from all 11 other ships. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourer ships attacked with weapons that could tear apart stars, but the ancient ships were faster and smarter. Jake led his small fleet in hit-and-run attacks, using their superior technology to destroy the enemy ships one by one. For the first time in thousands of years, Devourer ships were not just stopped, but completely destroyed. Each time an ancient weapon hit them, the dark ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But there were so many enemies. Jake's fleet was quickly surrounded. Guardian, came a voice over the communication system. It was Chancellor Vexoth. Coalition reinforcements are coming. Jake looked at his displays and smiled. Hundreds of Coalition ships were approaching. Saurian battleships, hive mind swarm fighters, crystal energy beams, and ships from dozens of other worlds. They could not hurt the Devourers directly, but they could provide cover and support for the ancient ships. The battle lasted for 6 hours. When it was over, the Devourer fleet was in retreat. Not destroyed completely, but hurt badly enough that they pulled back to the galaxy's edge. Jake sat in his command chair, exhausted but victorious. Around him, his crew cheered. Across the galaxy, billions of people from hundreds of different worlds celebrated together. Is it over? Lisa asked. Jake shook his head. No, This was just the first battle. They'll be back. And next time they'll be ready for us. But now we know we can fight them. He looked out at the stars through the ship's view screen. Other ancient ships were appearing throughout the galaxy as more humans answered the call to become guardians. The network of defenders was growing stronger every day. The ancients are gone, Jake said softly, but their legacy lives on. Humans will protect this galaxy, working together with all the species who call it home. Keeper 7 appeared beside him. You have done well, Guardian. The ancients would be proud. Jake smiled. He was no longer just a ship captain from Earth. He was the guardian commander of the galaxy, protector of countless worlds and billions of lives. It was a heavy responsibility, but one he was ready to carry. The age of the ancients was over. The age of humanity as guardians of the galaxy had begun. And Jake Morrison, sitting in his ancient command chair surrounded by the stars, was ready for whatever came next.